Going live. 1, 2. Everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat here. Everybody, Cantonese Cat here. Thank you for joining. I already got 8 people here. V's here, Ryan's here. Hey V. Just wanted to go through some things, I guess. I was thinking about going through Bitcoin. Ethereum looks like it's waking up a little bit. You know, I can do some alts, I can do some Bitcoin miners, and whatever requests you guys have, I can talk a little bit about that. I just made an offline video on Doge and GME and AMC. I'm going to upload that in a second. So nobody's really talking about it, so I figure I should probably start talking about that as well. But before I do that, I just kind of want to tell you guys, I don't know if you guys can hear this or not, but I have made a couple of educational videos there for members only. And you guys can speak to the quality of it. It's probably really horrible, but you know, whatever. Made one about Ichimoku Cloud. You know, I used the cloud a lot, so I was going through like the math. I was going through kind of like some examples, things like that. And also made another one. About the like how to catch a falling knife. I really want to make a third one this weekend if I can about the bull in Japan. So the way to really get access to these videos, you can click. You really have to do it either through Chrome or through what's that called, Android. If they're not available on Apple iOS, it's really annoying, but that's okay. You know, you can click join. If you click join, it's you know, just a few bucks a month. You know, if you want to unsubscribe anytime you want to, go for it. I'm probably going to end up just slowly growing through and grow the course to talk about different indicators and different things, like different thoughts, things like that. So yeah, those are one thought. The other thought is you guys want to not join, but you want to subscribe for free. I do have this Triumphant channel here that I do with the great Matt Spee, who also has his own channel, by the way. You know, he has his own channel at TGM Trading, and also with the Tesla Tracker. You know, you guys want to subscribe to that. We plan on probably doing it again. Live stream again to chart request every Tuesday evening. So anyway, now business is over. Let's talk about Bitcoin. You know, it's still early, I suppose. We still have another 29 hours before this weekly candle closes. So it's hard to say what Bitcoin's going to do. Is the weekend's low volume. It can do whatever the heck it wants to do. But the important thing is, if you just look at Ichimoku Cloud here, again, if you want to know more about my thoughts on how to use Ichimoku Cloud, you know, join a membership, you know, watch the video. But just pulling out the Ichimoku Cloud here, it does look like we are reclaiming the Tenkan and Kitchen, the blue and the red line over here, so far, after backtesting, trying to break back above in 2 weeks in a row. Granted, the week is not over, and there's still potentially some shenanigans that can happen. But it's good that it looks like it's really gone through a belt so far, and it's another 20-something hours before the close. You do have a bearish crossover here, but I didn't think it was that big of a deal because, you see a bearish crossover here too. You know, sometimes these things just a delayed indicator saying that, hey, you know, there's been a downtrend here for quite some time and I'm having a bearish cross, but I think it's just already telling you what you already know. Big giant wick underneath as support. So there are a lot of really positive things to like about Bitcoin. Looking at the Ichimoku, it looks like there might still be some ways to go before it bounces up, and there are people who theorize, and it's entirely appropriate to do so, that September is a bad month. Everybody's scared about September because just seasonality-wise speaking, like September is not going to be good. To me, I almost feel like we already front-ran. Hey, Low Gains, thanks for coming in. For me, we already front-ran the correction, I feel, like in August. And a lot of the economic data, and also like Jackson Hole, I think that might be potentially a catalyst if you believe in the catalyst kind of thing. So I think that we might not have a bad September. If we do, the Ichimoku Cloud still has support down here around like 53,000, 54,000, depending where it lands down here. But it doesn't have to, right? Because the Ichimoku sometimes is a little bit clunky. It's a little bit angly. It's a little bit, weird looking. There's another way to look at, very similar indicator, which is called the Sukuichi Cloud, which incorporates the Ichimoku cloud, but adds extra math to it to incorporate the super trend into the Ichimoku cloud. You basically use them the same way. To look at this, like really the super trend with the Subiji cloud has turned positive, has turned bullish since March of 2023, and it hasn't really flipped bearish at all. And currently, just like the regular Ichimoku, we're above the Subiji, Tenkan, and Kijun so far, right? And you also see that on the Subiji, we are getting a little bit closer to the cloud. So it does make me wonder whether or not like somebody already kind of take this into consideration in terms of technicals, whether or not we could maybe we like scrape the cloud, maybe we come back down a little bit for a couple of weeks, get everybody scared before going up, or maybe it ends up going back inside the cloud and actually find support and go up, or maybe we are just going on the way up. I don't know, but for the Subiji cloud, it just looks a little bit ready, a little bit more ready than, let's say, like the Ichimoku cloud, right? And the unfortunate thing too is initially you see a very, very tight Bollinger Band squeeze. You think that big move was going to come, but the big move ended up going to the downside. When I was looking at this many weeks ago, I was basically saying that I favored it going up, but there's also a scenario where I can see it kind of go down, bounce through the low Bollinger Band, maybe even wick underneath and go up. I just didn't think that that wick is going to be like all the way down to 48,000, but it's okay. I mean, I think 48,000 actually is actually pretty bullish of a wick that touched 48,000 or 49,000 just because it backtests some of the levels over here, and also its resistance over here is just basically backtesting as support, right? And that it wasn't sustainable. It's just way outside of weekly Bollinger Band, so that was probably a good buying opportunity. But yeah, it just basically bounced back up and then closed last week inside the low Bollinger Band. And right now, I do think that the 20-week is kind of sloping down a little bit. And the 20 weeks around 63,826. I can see a potential for Bitcoin to kind of close underneath of that this week. If it ends up going up higher, great. But it's underneath resistance, so I'm still a little bit skeptical that it's going to do that. But as long as it's closing, and I'm going to probably jinx it for you, as long as it's closing above, like, for the Ichimoku, I think 61.4K, and for the Supi-ichi, I think 63.2K. Like, as long as it closes above these two, then I think that the strong chances for some bullish continuation to come after that. So looking at the lower time frame too, I do think that there's a little bit of thought that my friend A Trades Crypto, he also thought too, that Monday you're going to have a pullback because we have a very bullish day on Friday, and you're probably going to end up having some healthy pullback, which is no big deal. Now, a healthy pullback for Bitcoin would be like all the way back down to the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud over here, because right now you're having a little bit of a hard time breaking above on the daily chart. It's trying. It's like a little bit over the Ichimoku cloud right now, but it's very possible that it might just turn out to be a wick, and then by Sunday we might actually come down, and by Monday we can hit the lower part of the Ichimoku cloud and then go up higher. And that actually would not be like a bearish thing, because it would just be basically a back testing of this previous resistance level here as support before working up a cloud, before having some bullish continuation, right? So none of these things are like bad. You've also looked at the wave trend oscillator, is very positive here on the daily. On the weekly is also pointing positive too. So there are a lot of great things I'm looking at Bitcoin. I'm like, interesting, right? Hidden bullish divergence, price going up, and then the oscillator going down. That you got a few things going on here that I made a post on X saying that I'm starting to see a little bit more positive development here for Bitcoin. That's really kind of it for Bitcoin. If you look at Ethereum, I can just talk about Ethereum real quick. It looks like it wants to bound through the Ichimoku cloud. It looks like the weekly wave trend oscillator is also turning positive. It also looks like we're hitting some resistance up above at the tank around 2,837. And we might end up initially getting rejected here. I don't think we're going to have closing a week below above that. We might challenge that by Sunday. I don't know, but we're probably end up closing underneath of that, and hopefully we're able to kind of stay inside the cloud and try to break back above the cloud. But Ethereum is definitely underperforming, unfortunately. If you want to do PEPE, I can do PEPE. That's fine. Let me finish up with my thoughts on Ethereum here real quick. The overall thought on Ethereum, more looking into monthly, is that this is still very healthy because the Ichimoku cloud has been backtested again and passed, right, in service support. I would not be surprised, and again, I don't know for sure because there's still another week to go, but I would not be surprised if this month ends up having price closing back about $3,070, which is a rising 10 over year. I would not be surprised if price close above that. If it doesn't, that's okay because it bounced back and tested to support underneath. So overall, still looking a very, very nice, back test of this horizontal level. And also on top of that, the wick over here also back test the 20-month moving average, right? So you had this as a resistance, and you basically back testing and support. A lot of things are very bullish. So there's nothing bearish about Ethereum. It's just whether or not you think it's going to underperform, is going to outperform Bitcoin. Is really, really hard to say at this point. I do think that whenever Bitcoin ends up making a true all-time high again, I do think that that's maybe when Ethereum is really going to wake up and really do some pretty crazy things. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about Ethereum. PEPE USD. Yeah, this thing hasn't been around for long enough for me to really do a good chart. All I have to say is like some generic statements here. Look at the weekly, and I charted this a while back. I haven't looked at this for a couple months. But I generally like to look at the Fibonacci retracement and extension levels from like the previous high to the previous cycle low, and just trying to see track how price is doing. Basically, what this looks like is just really respecting these Fibonacci levels. Like basically, when everybody got really super bullish on PEPE, and this just was like 6 months ago, when you makes like this big giant move up, and it was basically bouncing from one level to another, and basically it's back testing some levels, right? You're into a whole elite wave thing. I think this is like wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of a greater scheme of wave 1. If you believe that this is a bull market that's going to keep on going for a while, right? If you don't, then hey, maybe it's going to make a little bit of a, but you know how I feel about the cycle. I think the liquidity is just now coming in. I think it's going to be a longer lasting bull market. So I think that this is basically a 5-wave elite wave, and it's basically doing maybe like A and B and C. And it's finding some support here at 1.618 level, and it looks like it's bouncing from that pretty decent. So if you ask me, I think it's going to have a bullish continuation. If you ask me the targets, I don't have one because it's, I think it's going to go a lot higher, but I don't have a target. Obviously, like these meme coins, it's hard to predict, right? But I cannot be that bearish on this chart just looking at it. If you look at the Bollinger Band, it's also hitting some resistance here so far. It's hitting the 20-week moving average. So it might not break through. It might end up going sideways for a couple of weeks and trying to figure out some technicals before going up. And before you go up, you also have the 2.618 level over here too. So you're at resistance. Maybe it goes back down and maybe even back test the 1.618 before going up higher. Because you're at resistance, you're only a little bit more careful. So just something to think about. So I have a couple of requests. Logins you want to look at is ASTS. Let me see. I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. Oh yeah, this AST space mobile thing. It just keeps on going up to space. I think I looked at this recently. I don't know about this, man. Do you have a position? Are you trying to what are you trying to do on this chart? I don't know what to do about this chart, really, to be honest with you, because it looks like it's just defying physics here. Whenever I look at something like this, I do a couple things. One is I look at the and I think I did this already last week with the bros. But you have basically candles number 1, 2, and 3, and 4 in the monthly closing right outside of the Bollinger Band, and you have RSI now entering like the 80s. I'm a little bit worried. Now, can it keep going higher? Sure it can, right? But the retracement is going to be pretty brutal whenever it happens. Like this just basically reminds me of what happened recently with, say, like MicroStrategy. You know, you have these like 1, 2, 3, 4 candles, like just kind of way outside the Bollinger Band, or even like, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, like look at what MicroStrategy did during the last cycle, right? Whenever you have that, in order to have a monthly hour cycle into like 90, this is like 93, I guess. I get a little bit, you know, really concerned about that. So that's kind of what this stock is doing right now. Is way outside the upper Bollinger Band on the monthly, and the RSI is up to like 83. I am a little bit hesitant to want to keep this thing going. I definitely wouldn't enter, especially if the weekly looks like, yeah, I know. You if you're entering a short, I can see why, and I can see how that is a good risk reward ratio, just because it has like a very bad tweezer look to it, and it's just way outside the upper Bollinger Band. So you're doing it right. I mean, I never like to stock a shorter stock, really, but yeah, if you're gonna do it, yeah, you don't know how far this thing is gonna go though, right? Like right now, the weekly RSI is like in the mid 90s. You don't know how far this thing is gonna go. It could come down and then make it a little higher in the RSI, and price could keep going up. So just be careful, man. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, that's all I had to say about that. I think a lot of people have questions about miners. I definitely want to talk about miners. Going straight up to the let's see here. Yeah, going straight up to some of the miners that I generally talk about. Let me drink a sip of water here. I don't remember telling you to dump CleanSpark and buy MSTR, man. But yeah, MSTR looks more bullish. To be completely honest with you, CleanSpark is lagging. I'm just gonna do a little bit of like a, let's see here, do a little bit of like a higher time frame thing here first. Am I bearish on this chart when you basically have things just close way outside of the Bollinger Band for like several months in a row, and things are just cooling down and backtesting a rising 20-month moving average? No, I'm not bearish. Now, I would be more worried if it keeps on exhausting like this for another few months. You know, that would be worrisome for me. I would really like to see what the reaction to CleanSpark is over the next couple of months or so. But just looking at the overall market symmetry, I can't really be that bearish on CleanSpark just without any indicators. It really just looks like it's just respecting a Fibonacci level after another. And whenever it like broke down, and this is a Fibonacci sequence I drew from the cycle high to cycle low, it's been respecting these Fibonacci levels like on the T. Whenever it hits a Fib level, back test another level underneath, as because it got rejected. And here it's just it was hugging 0.382. It just wasn't able to hold on, just broke down underneath. And so far it's finding support at the 0.236. You can call this a bear flag, I suppose, but you can also call this a bear flag. You can call this a bear flag. You can call this a bear flag. It's an uptrend. It's higher highs and higher lows. And you're also at a very important volume shelf over here. So I think it looks okay. I think if anything, the lower it goes, the better the risk reward ratio is, as far as I'm concerned, because it's still a higher low compared to over here. Like it's a very, very clear high low compared to over here. So I can't really be that bearish on CleanSpark. As a matter of fact, I bought CleanSpark Friday, just as a part of my DCA strategy. I try not to buy CleanSpark up here in like the 20s, right? I mean, that was just way overextended. But whenever there was like less than like 17, 16, I was accumulating over here too. My cost average, I think I ended up buying CleanSpark was really like more down here. So I end up increasing my cost average over here too. So right now my cost average is actually right around where price is at, around like $12. So I'm okay. I'm going to play the cycle. I'm not going to just trade in and out these different Fibonacci levels, but I can see why people would want to do that. I think the fundamental wise, like CleanSpark is definitely probably one. They're all a little bit scammy, to be completely honest with you. Like these are like mining companies. They're high growth companies, but they also they have to dilute, and when they dilute, they what they use for the capital is really difficult to say. I would like to think that they use them to like buy machines and try to expand and incorporate AI into their algorithms and whatnot. But like they're going to buy like private jets. They're going to use money to like do like promotional projects. That they're anyway. It's a company. They're going to dilute, but overall, this is still a very bullish chart. I still think that CleanSpark is probably one of the more reliable, reliable miners, if you will. Without going too far off rail, looking back here, like it would have been a very, very good risk reward ratio if you were bought it way outside the upper Bollinger Band, underneath like around $9. The Bollinger Band is expanding, so sure, could it go down further? Yeah, but it's also finding support here at the volume shelf over here. And it's also finding support at a pretty important Fibonacci level over here. It's basically back testing a resistance level as support, insofar as looking like it's holding pretty decent. So I can't really be that bearish on CleanSpark at this point. Like I just feel that it looks good. The Ichimoku on the weekly is not going to tell you too much. Like it looks like we closed the week underneath the weekly Ichimoku, but it's not the end all be all. Sometimes you can close underneath the Ichimoku and it doesn't really mean anything. Let's show you like Mara over here close underneath the Ichimoku. Like should you freak out? No, not necessarily, right? So the overall thing is just more market symmetry. I think that's probably still more important. And if anything, I think that because it's now closer to the bottom of this range over here, I think it's probably going to go up to like $15. So if you're gonna trade, I think this is potentially a pretty decent trade. If you ask me, I think 15 is going to be the volume shelf over here. 15 is going to be right around where the 20-week moving average is going to be at. That's resistance. So that's probably going to be like the short-term target. But longer term, I'm still expecting great things from CleanSpark. So that was a lot of talking about CleanSpark. Let's see. I think somebody asked about GRYP. I have an issue with charting GRYP. I'll tell you why that is. The reason why I think I have a hard time with this is because their CEO actually sent me a message after I charted once, and it's basically saying that the price action does not reflect the current situation of the company. And I was like, I noted, okay, I won't chart this anymore. Because if you look at the chart, it looked absolutely horrendous. Like it just looks like on the monthly here, 20-month moving average is like way over here. Now, if you ask me, I don't know about the price action. I don't know much about the company. I don't know whether or not this is like the same company as it was reflected in the price. I don't know, right? All I can say is if you look at the trend, it's still a downtrend. If you look at the candle, so far it looks like it's a pretty decent bottoming candle, like a hammer candle over here, which generally is a pretty good bottom. It doesn't guarantee that this is the bottom, and I always like to say that these like monthly hammer candles, like it doesn't really guarantee that it's the bottom, because look at NEO. It made how many hammered bottom candles? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, so I just want to be clear that you can't really be that certain about it. But if I look at the lower time frame, maybe if I ignore the other stuff, yeah, when it's close, when it's like way outside up the lower Bollinger Band, was it a good place to buy? Probably, But even in the short term, I'm still a little bit wary. I think price could certainly like make a very, very big gain, like 50%, just to have like a little bit of retracement to the mean. I think that's entirely possible. But yeah, I just don't like the setup, and I'm sorry, I don't want to upset anybody else anymore to chart this chart that I was told like that doesn't reflect on what the company's doing anymore. Mara, it's another one that I have, obviously. Now that we're on the miner streak, I'm just going to go through miners here. Somebody asked about Bitfarms too, so let me go ahead and just go for Mara and go to Bitfarms and go to CIFR, go to IREN, go to WULF, and just kind of go all through the list right here. Woo! Here we go. Let me see. Yeah, the CEO says don't yeah. You can be certain a lot of folks are shorting, so no comment. Anyway, Mara, what I have to say about this, I'm going to basically saying that yes, it is probably at resistance right now. We're getting pretty close to resistance, because if I take out the pitchfork that I have over here, the 20-week moving average is getting pretty close. It's flattening, so there's a good chance that you're able to break back above and back test and go higher. And that also coincidentally is where, the bonus support band is right there too, right? So you are getting a little bit close to resistance. I think that the resistance is probably around like 1920. And I do think that 20 is going to be a pretty decent target because that's also where the Ichimoku cloud is going to be at next week. So that's going to be a pretty decent target around like 19.5 to like 20. It's going to be a pretty good target for Mara, and it might have a hard time breaking above initially. It might take additional at least a couple of weeks for it to kind of go around. It can even go down a little bit further because there's resistance at the 20-week moving average, right? So it could even go down a little bit further. But the whole thing is that if you are looking at a pitchfork, which I drew over here, I do think that price probably wants to gravitate to like 20.5 somewhere up there. And the whole idea is that it's just been channeling up. Let me get rid of the Ichimoku here. It's just been channeling up in a diagonal pitchfork, and it's respecting a lot of these levels almost like very extremely well. Actually, it broke down underneath this channel down here, and where did it find support? At the bottom of this channel is channeling back up, right? So I think it's just near the bottom of the range. After it just touched the top of the range, it just got rejected. And there's also a lot of confluence here too, not just at a diagonal, but also look at the Fibonacci levels over here too. I don't know why it's like all the way over there, but let me see if I do a 2-week, might be a little bit prettier. Yeah, if I do a 2-week, you can see that the Fibonacci levels here are a little bit more clear. It just hit the 0.382 and got rejected. And then where's it going to go? Well, it hits the 0.382 and also hit the top of the pitchfork here. So too far, too fast. Let's go back down. Where it's going to go down to? Well, 0.136 Fibonacci level at the bottom of the right. So it's doing kind of what you expect it to do, and I think the next price probably going to gravitate. And already, when I drew the arrow prices down here, so I think a lot of this move already had happened. So I think it's probably going to end up hitting like 20.5 somewhere around there before it goes up, higher. Probably end up getting rejected. Probably go sideways for a couple of weeks before challenging back to the 0.236, which is going to be around like $22. I do have to say on the higher time frame, it doesn't look bad because it does have a very nice hammer candle over here too, And look at the Ichimoku. It looks like so far we might close the month back above the Kijun here, which is a positive development. If you look at the Sapiichi, basically it's just been stuck in the range, like it's still stuck in the range. It's stuck in the range for like 9 months now. So yeah, whenever it breaks out, it breaks out. But so far, looking at the pitchfork on the weekly, you can see looking at the pitchfork over here, looks pretty nice. Looks like it's still going to be on its way up. So I'm not that concerned about Mara. I already have a good enough holding. I'm not going to add more, but yeah, I still like it. Bitfarms. Somebody mentioned about Bitfarms. Andre, I'll get to IREN and BTBT, no problem. Yeah. Can you still hear me okay? Scott says I'm occasionally cutting out. I hope I'm okay. But anyway, Bitfarms, it's the same thing. Like, there's really not much different to say about Bitfarms compared to Mara, with the exception that Bitfarms is looking a little bit more bullish because Mara is still having a little bit of a hard time to hit the 0.236 level, whereas Bitfarms already hitting it. It's also hitting like this level of the pitchfork over here. And on the Ichimoku, it also has reclaimed the Ichimoku cloud. Unlike Mara is still underneath the Ichimoku cloud, right? So Bitfarm actually looks more bullish, relatively speaking. But I always think that Bitfarm is also one of the stock that tends to be overshooting Mara on the upside and overshooting Mara on the downside, right? And so far as holding the cloud, so far as getting, challenging the pitchfork level here and the Fibonacci level here at the 0.236. So yeah, 2.5 is going to be a hard time. Maybe it goes sideways here inside the cloud. Maybe it come back down, back test this level over here before going up further. I don't know, but it's not the end of the world. It comes back down, make a little bit of a higher low before going up higher, because you also have a very nice volume shove level over here too. So the overall thing about Bitfarms, again, if I close the pitchfork here in the Fibonacci level, look at the monthly, it had it's getting close to challenging the rising Tenkan here, right? Again, this looks more bullish than Mara, right? So yeah, I just think that it may be a little bit of like a prelude, if you will, to tell you what Mara is going to do. Same thing, ranging sideways for 9 months, just like what Mara did. But Mara, Mara is like kind of right smack in the middle of Bitfarm is basically doing the same thing. So I honestly think these two charts look the same. I don't know, like, if you ask me for fundamentals, like, I have a rough idea. I don't want to like just spill, crap out there and embarrass myself. But like chart wise, they look very, very similar. And I don't have much else to say about Bitfarms. CIFR, it's looking pretty decent too. It always looked decent because it keeps on forming higher highs and higher lows. That's what it does. But the channel is really shallow. The angle is just really going up, like in a diagonal, but it's just been a slow train. I can't be bearish. Like, look at the Tenkan here on the monthly Super Ichi, right? It's been using it as support. If you look at Ichimoku, is underneath the kitchen over here, but I don't think it's the end of the world. You still have a bullish cross, and I still think that more or less, like, the Super Ichi tells you a little bit more about the story. It's just stuck in a range still. And it's still stuck underneath this like very important level around like 5.5, where it's been trying to break through for like a whole year now. And initially have a little bit of break back out, to that level. Why did it get rejected up here? Because it's a 0.5. And why did it get rejected up here? Because it is at the top of the 2-week Ichimoku cloud. All these things are irrational, right? Came back down. Where did it go down to? Going back down to the 0.236. Logical, right? Is it finding support at 0.236? Yes, it is. Is it finding support here again, over and over again? Yes, it is, right? Do you have a big giant volume shelf over here as potentially support? Yes, it does. We're right here at the volume shelf over here. So went way too far, way too fast. You know how I know it went way too far, way too fast? Because look at the Bollinger Band on the weekly. It's like way outside the upper Bollinger Band. So it says, nope, slapping you back down, not ready yet. Why was it rejected? Because look at the monthly Bollinger Bands, which is way outside the monthly Bollinger Band. So yeah, it got slapped all the way back down here. But I do think that is favoring more of uptrend here. The 20-month moving average is also pointing up. You have a lot of decent support that is finding. I'm not worried about this stock. I still think anything that's underneath 5.5 is still a very, very good buy for CIFR. Those are still my thoughts. Just kind of look at the weekly here. Currently is underneath the 20. So in the short term, it's going to be like the 20-week moving average is flattening. So 4.3 is going to be a resistance zone. It got rejected over here once, but it's flattening, right? So 4.3 is going to be a resistance zone. Let's see whether or not we get above that. But I think currently we're at like some pretty strong support here, close to around $3.94, somewhere around there. So like CIFR, I don't have anything bad to say about it. IREN. IREN had a very, very beautiful chart here. Basically, all IREN did is it had a symmetrical triangle here, break out and back testing it right at the volume shelf over there, find support exactly where it needed to find support. Initially, I thought it was going to go down to maybe like 8 max. I didn't think it was going to go all the way down to like 6, I thought like 7.5, maybe max it would go because you have a volume shelf over here, because you have a horizontal zone over here, right? Nope, it went for violence, went for the apex of this symmetrical triangle, bounced hard from it. I'm also going to draw, it's going to be hard to draw a Fibonacci for IREN because the high is really from when it first come about from the IPO. But if you draw a Fibonacci, you can also see like a very, very clear picture here too. Basically, it's been respecting these Fibonacci levels, got rejected. Where do you think it would get rejected? At the 0.5, came back down where it gets support at. Eventually, it ended up getting support here at the 0.236, right? So where is it going to go next? I mean, if you think this is a bear flag, then the next things could be down, right? But I happen to not think that to be the case because people who are screaming bear flags can also scream bear flags on an uptrend, and they'll be wrong most of the time, right? So I think the natural place is going for the gravity to is going to be back to the 0.382, and then we'll see how it acts up there. Before it does that, right now you are at a little bit of resistance. You're at a rising 20-week moving average. but you know, who knows? Like, it wasn't very strong support here, so I don't think it's going to be strong resistance here. The only thing is, like, the volume is not really quite picking up quite just yet, so there's a little bit of a concern here. But another thing why the zone is important for it to bounce back down to is because that's also where the Ichimoku cloud is at as well on the weekly. And it just bounced on Ichimoku cloud here is a very, very decent look to it so far. On the monthly, this looked like Mara, right? On the monthly, on the Ichimoku, this looked like Mara. This looked like Bitfarms, somewhere in between. It's just stuck inside between the Tenkan and Kijin. So it looks like it's just doing what the other miners are doing, consolidating. And for a miner, if you're talking about consolidation, you can have crazy like 60-70% move, and that's still consolidation. It's just the way it is, you know. Like, I don't really see anything bad over in terms of like a long-term trend. Like, there's nothing bearish about IREN. I still think that it wants to keep going higher, but it is hitting resistance so far of this horizontal zone over here, as well as hitting resistance at the 20-week moving average. That's all. So could it go back down a little bit to back test like $7.8, $8? Can it go back down to like 7.36? Possible, but it doesn't have to. I think it's entirely possible that it has already ran this course with this big giant capitulation down to like the 6s. And the next price it could gravitate to would be probably to like the next FIP level around like 11.4. And the next volume shelf up here is going to be around like 12.5, somewhere around there, 13, somewhere around there. That's what I think about IREN. You guys, let's see. I'll talk about BTBT as well. I have a position of BTBT, very, very small one, but I own 6 miners, or 7 miners now. CleanSpark, Mara, Bitfarms, my big 3. CIFR, IREN, WULF are like a lot lower, but I still have a decent position in them. BTBT, I'm just like playing around with. I'm just starting a little bit of a position there. But WULF is probably one of the most bullish charts of all the miners. Hang on, I'm just going to take a sip of water before my voice goes out. Sorry. WULF is going to be one of the best looking miners there is. And if you are thinking about why price did what it did, there's no surprise in terms of what it did. If you do a Fibonacci from the high over here to the low over here, the 0.136 linear Fibonacci level, it got rejected right almost like to the dollar, or to the cent, I guess. Right. I thought it would get rejected. The question, and there's no doubt, because it was just way outside of a Bollinger Band here on the weekly for like many, many weeks in a row. The question is, where was it going to find support? Is it going to find support down at the cloud at like 2.3? You know, I didn't think so. Is it going to find support here at the horizontal zone over here, where there's some previous supports and resistance over here with big giant volume shelf over here? Yeah, it found support right at the volume shelf, which is good, right? And it also found support at the eventually at the rising 20-week moving average, and 20-week moving average is pointing up still, right? But our support band is pointing up still, right? So this is actually one of the more bullish charts in all of the miners. I like it very much, and that would have been a good spot to buy, but I just have a hard time pulling the trigger for WULF because there was a risk for it to go all the way down to like 2.3 based on the Ichimoku and also based on volume shelf, but it just didn't end up doing that. Now, if it didn't die, if it didn't go all the way down and it bounced like this hard, and the 20-week moving average is still looking very decent, and if it's still claiming the Tenkan and Kijin on the weekly Ichimoku on high volume, on increasing volume, this looks like a bullish chart. It's going to probably gravitating up back to like the 0.136 around 6.5, and right now the Bollinger Band is allowing it to do so now, right? You can safely get up there. You don't have to worry about this big retracement that we just had. So that is really my thought on WULF. And if I do a little bit of a higher time frame here, looking at the Ichimoku, it's above Tenkan and Kijin. This is one of the most bullish charts for all miners. Nice hammer above Tenkan and Kijin, bullish cross. Yeah, $14. No, anyway, not financial advice. Still underneath all resistance. You probably need time to get up there, but I'm bullish on WULF. So BTBT, what do I think? I like this hammer candle. This hammer candle is freaking awesome. The hammer candle basically just bounced off a rising 20-month moving average. And yeah, thanks, Mark, for updating me on the price of Bitcoin. Anyway, I talked a little bit about Bitcoin earlier, so if you want to retrace back to the beginning, please feel free to do so. Rising 20, bounce, big giant hammer, bullish to me. I like it very much. Ichimoku, BTBT, again, one of the more bullish miners, because right now is above the Tenkan and Kijun. It's just like WULF. IREN doesn't have this look. CleanSpark doesn't have this look. Mara doesn't have this look. Bitfarms doesn't have this look. CIFR doesn't have this look. So far, all the miners I've gone through, only BTBT and WULF have this look. And it's a pretty decent look, I gotta say, right? So where is price going to have gravitating to? Is it going to hit like up here to the bottom cloud? I think so. When it's going to hit, where it's going to hit, I don't know. The cloud ranges all the way from like $10 up here all the way to like $6, $5. I don't know where it's going to hit. But I think so far it's looking pretty decent. Bullish cross. I would like to see it make a higher high. I would like to see it make a higher high because so far we're still stuck inside the range. And I think the Subichi is going to tell you like it's so far stuck inside the range. I like to see it make it a higher high, maybe get rejected around like $6 or something like that. And the Subichi Cloud, around like 5.5, 6, somewhere around there. Maybe retrace back down, back test like 4.5, somewhere around there. And then you can re-challenge the Ichimoku Cloud up here. So far it's not ready yet, but I like the look. This is the reason why I'm buying BTBT. What else? I think somebody mentioned CORZ. I'm going to go straight to CORZ Lite. I know I'm being lame. Monthly chart. It's how many candles? I don't even have any like monthly things to say about it. All I have to say is like it's a nice hammer. Great. I'm glad that it found the hammer. Let's look at the weekly chart here. What is it trying to do? It's trying to basically just go consolidate sideways over here. The Bollinger Band here tells you the whole story about what CORZ is doing. What CORZ is doing is just it's got way too far, way too fast, and ended up having to correct sideways, and then back test a rising 20-week moving average. And guess what it's doing right now? It looks like a bounce from it, right? And guess what it's doing right now too? Well, it's trying to re-challenge this horizontal zone of resistance up here. And it's having a hard time breaking above. We didn't really quite have the volume this past week to do that. So I don't know what next week is going to hold. I can totally see it coming back down and going down, before going up higher. I don't know. Let's look at a lower time frame. If you can look at the daily time frame here and try to extrapolate in terms of what's happening, I do think that we had this candle that's like way outside the lower Bollinger Band, and we backtest the lower Bollinger Band. And it makes sense for price to graduate back up above, and the 20-day moving actually says crawling up. So it looks like we just had a pretty strong consolidation sideways over here. It looks like the next step for CORZ is probably going to go up, but you are at resistance. Looking at the Tenkan, you did reclaim the Tenkan over here. So all these things, I'm not bearish on CORZ. I think CORZ is still a very bullish chart, but you're just at resistance right now. I don't know when it's going to break back above. I don't know how far it's going to go back down to back test the support levels before going up higher. There's a lot of unknowns here. I wouldn't buy at resistance. I also don't have enough history to really chart to kind of tell you more about the levels. But am I bearish on CORZ? No, it can retrace all the way down to like 7.5 again. I'll still be thinking that is a bullish chart. 7.5, right? A lot of confluence zone back here. Can it back test that again before going up? I think is entirely possible. Is that resistance? Can it break through? Sure. It didn't have enough volume to do it last week. That's all I have to say about CORZ. V, anything for you? BRPHF. You got the 3 Caucasian soldiers, as Bacon would call it on the weekly. But the 3 Caucasian soldiers is on declining volume, so be careful. I'm gonna just zoom out here. I mean, this actually, even though it's like a penny stock, this actually looks like one of the more bullish miners. Just like BTBT, just like WULF, it had a bullish cross, and so far as reclaiming the Tenkan and Kijun, is probably going to gravitate to like 16 and a half to the bottom of the cloud. That's what I think, V. Bounce from a perfect bounce. Perfect bounce. Oh man, look at how beautiful this is. Perfect bounce off of the 20-month moving average. Have a big giant hammer candle. Oh man, I love this look on the weekly Ichimoku. I think you're gonna like the katana. You did have initially a little bit of a bullishness and a fusing, so I don't know whether or not katana means necessarily means like strong, powerful bullish continuation. Usually, I like to see a katana from like a trend change. Like here is not quite katana, but it's kind of really close, like the Tenkan and Kijun. For those who don't know what I mean by katana, like the Tenkan and Kijun lines, if they get really, really close together, it basically means that previously you had a long period of consolidation, and you have like very much recent volatility. And next thing you know, price is going to move very impulsively on one direction from the katana. So the katana is forming right now. The Kijun and Tenkan is fusing because the last few weeks has basically engulfed the entire price action over the last 26 periods. And right now you're above of it on 3 white soldiers. This actually tells me to be leaning more bullish on Bitcoin. I like the chart, V. I don't know what else to say. And I kind of gave you the target, in terms of what I thought my thoughts are. The thing about getting up to higher targets above is you always have the Bollinger Band to kind of weigh you down, right? But I don't think that's going to be a problem on the monthly anymore. On the weekly, it could still be a problem, but it's expanding, right? So the only concern I have about this chart is on declining volume. So, it can go down and retrace a little bit, but the ultimate target is probably like around 16.5. It could go up a lot higher. I'm just telling you like what I'm seeing with the Ichimoku. Like it could go up a lot higher after that. It could challenge all-time high. Obviously, you can just keep going a lot higher. But I think like the immediate like strong resistance is going to be around like 16 and a half. So 5 billion plus market cap. That's it's actually it's not a small, like for miners, not small. So do you want to go through the rest of them? I mean, I don't like, nobody cares about HUT anymore. It's one of the, unfortunately, it's just been underperforming. I think the only big thing about HUT is like it's got a little bit like a descending wedge look to it, which actually is like bullish. But so far, it's just unfortunately just been underperforming. So if you're looking for momentum, I don't know. Like that's the thing. Like if you want to buy something that has a descending wedge and you think it's going to be bullish because it's bullish formation, you don't know how far the descending wedge is going to go. Like you just don't know, because I just don't have any signs for momentum picking up quite just yet. Very nice descending wedge, but how far is it going to go? I don't know. I just don't know. And you have more resistance above than you have support. So you have more resistance above than you have support. So HUT looks better, but it's still getting rejected at the 0.136. It's been ranging and it's getting rejected where it's supposed to. Ichimoku, not as bad as RIOT, but still, you're underneath the Tenkan and Kijun here, kind of like CleanSpark. But it doesn't really have that beautiful market symmetry like CleanSpark does, right? So it might be a late runner, just like at the last cycle. Like last cycle, I think the other guys like really started running around November 2020. HUT really was kind of lagging behind, so maybe it'll continue to lag behind this cycle too. That's kind of what I was thinking. You want to talk about CAN? Oh, I think you meant CAN, like CAN. Is that what you meant? I hope that's what you meant, because otherwise I don't know what you meant by CAN. And I can talk a little bit more about MSTR here in a little bit to kind of close the whole like Bitcoin miner talk. Yeah, I gotta say, nice dragonfly looking candle over here, but still a downtrend. 20-month moving average still negative sloping, still underneath the Tenkan in the kitchen, way underneath. But it's one of those charts that I'm like, okay, it's underneath a lot of resistance. So what does it mean? Well, it means that either price has a lot to go down, which it doesn't look like it wants to do that right now because the downtrend seems to be temporarily halted. I do think most likely it's going to end up like pointing up, and you're going to end up having resistance on a negative sloping 20-month moving average going down. And if you're paying past that, and that's probably going to be around like 1.6, 1.5, somewhere around there. And if you pass that, then you talk about maybe like $2, So you have potentially a lot of gains, but like it's also dangerous to hold because it's a downtrend. It's hard for me to say whether or not this is the bottom or that this is even a local bottom because I don't know that for sure, right? Even looking at a lower time frame on the weekly, it's still underneath like a 20-week moving average. It's getting rejected here so far. You do have a pretty strong Bollinger Band squeeze over here, so I do think that it might end up doing one of these things where it just kind of like, like where it just kind of test up a Bollinger Band here, get rejected, going back down further, right? I am not that convinced that it's going to necessarily do that because the 20-week moving average is still pretty negative sloping. So I am a little bit worried about this. Thank you, B. I do that for you. So yeah, so I'm a little bit concerned that it would be rejected and it could end up going down further. But if you want to know my thoughts about catching a falling knife, I made a whole video on this the other day on members only. If you want to learn the arts of catching a falling knife, I usually look at a few indicators just to give you some hopium. I look at a few indicators, and what I look for is any potential signs for bullish divergence. And it doesn't, when you have bullish divergence, it doesn't mean that price won't go down further. It can still go down a lot further on bullish divergence. But I wouldn't, right now I'm getting to the point where I wouldn't even touch the stock unless if I see a bullish divergence. So do we have a bullish divergence here with Canon? The answer is we've had it over here. Price went down, and this is the RSI. RSI went up, right? So yes, the answer is yes, we have a bullish divergence. Did it end up playing out? Some, right? So this momentum, this downtrend momentum is slowing down. That's all the bullish divergence means. It doesn't mean it's going to like end up just making a V-shaped recovery, right? It just means the downtrend is slowing down. It did work out here. Do we have any further bullish divergence right now? I would say if we do, is very weak. Like price went sideways, RSI ended up pointing up, on balance falling, ended up pointing up, maybe a little bit, but it's not really like any clear divergence I've seen to really help you to support this, right? And also looking at Bollinger Band, like I guess it's squeezing, right? But I don't know which direction it's going to go. If it was like somewhere up here, I would imagine like the bottom would be like at a low Bollinger Band. So I think if you would have caught the falling knife at a low Bollinger Band here or here, that would have been relatively okay. But yeah, like but on the monthly, I don't even know like where you would catch this falling knife. Like it's the low Bollinger Band is like all the way down there. So those are kind of my thoughts. I probably would not touch it, but again, not financial advice, just my thoughts. So what else do we have here? That is a lot of questions. So FJT, is that a stock? I'm looking back. Let's start on MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy looks bullish. MicroStrategy is doing what I would expect it to do after such a big giant uptrend to cool down for like a few months. This is not anything that is unexpected. You still have a very, very nice, you still have a very, very nice Bollinger Band expansion. It's just starting to get contracted here a little bit. After you have months number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like kind of peeking his head outside the monthly upper Bollinger Band, this is not unexpected. Like this is what I'm trying to say. And the monthly Shimoku cloud, like closing about all these indicators over here, is still a bull trend. There's nothing like really that bearish about it. Same thing on the Super Ichi. If you're looking at like a lower time frame, it's also looking pretty decent too. This is about the Tenkan Vision. It almost looks like they know that after hours Bitcoin is going to hit like 64,000. And I don't know, but because that's what it looks like, right? It looks like it's almost like they know. But anyway, I don't want to speculate. But so far, looking pretty decent here on a lower time frame too. Is reclaiming the 20-week moving average. 20-week moving average is flattening out. There's really not much bearishness about this chart. I'd like to look at the MSTR over Bitcoin chart, and even the MSTR over Bitcoin chart tells you that it's been outperforming Bitcoin ever since like May of 2022. It's just been for most priming nothing but higher highs, higher lows, and even that, like even the strategy of Bitcoin chart looks like it wants to go higher, And on the Ichimoku cloud here, looks like it's more bullish than Bitcoin. On the monthly is back above the monthly Ichimoku cloud here on this ratio chart, right? MSTR over Bitcoin chart is looking very, very nice. I don't think the cycle's over, because if it is, and the whales already know about this, they wouldn't be in MSTR. Like of the previous cycle, they sold off a lot earlier, and Bitcoin's still made a higher high, but MicroStrategy didn't really make another higher high after like February 2021, right? So overall, I still think the cycle will probably end up continuing. Yeah, but I don't have much bad things to say about like the Bitcoin cycle. While I'm at it, I can talk about Coinbase too. Coinbase looks very nice, bounce back about the Tenkan Vision. Even on the weekly, it's underneath resistance over here, but I think it's nice to see these kind of wicks underneath. I still think that it's probably going to end up graphing up towards around 220. And it's probably got like a lot of stuff to kind of work around, like 220. Might end up having a little bit of resistance, coming back down, test some stuff before going up higher. But yeah, like it looks like it wants to go up in the short term. And on the long term, I still think that this is still, like, how can you be bearish on this chart so far? I can even like draw a trend line here, and it hasn't even touched like the trend line. So, and this is a log chart. Would you expect it to find such strong resistance up here at 0.618? Yes, you would. That's a golden ratio. That's a strong resistance level. It was also a very strong level. Like, it spent about 8 months here in this range in 2021. So yeah, you're getting some resistance here. So what? Look at the market symmetry. Like, just like CleanSpark, like it has very beautiful market symmetry. It is bouncing from where it needs to bounce from. So overall, I'm not really bearish on Coinbase on the long term, although in the short term, I do think that it probably wants to gravitate to like maybe 220, maybe even 230. Who knows? Like, that's a 0.5 right there. But I do think it's probably going to get rejected there, backtest some stuff, maybe back to like 200 before going higher. Those are kind of my thoughts. Especially with the 20-week moving average, kind of like a little bit negative sloping. So I think probably end up like maybe wicking above that, hit 230, and then getting rejected, come back down to like 210, 200 before going further. Those are just my thoughts. Yeah, I want to talk about Robinhood next. There's nothing bearish about Robinhood. If you haven't followed me before, and I'm not asking you to follow me like I'm a cult, because I'm not. Like, I don't really have any like religion. It's kind of weird to call followers. Like, subscribers maybe better. But I was initially very concerned about the Robinhood chart. I was concerned about the Robinhood chart because price is way above the Tenkan Kijun, and I was worried about a potential. Don't bow down. Don't bow down. This is not a religion. Initially, I was worried that things are just way above the Tenkan and Kijun, and I was hoping the Tenkan Kijun would rise up sooner to kind of catch up over price, and price would just go sideways and correct sideways. For the month of August, I think we had our capitulation, and it backtested a lot of stuff that it needed backtest. And we're not overextended anymore as a result. Like the candle touched all these indicators over here. It almost got close to the 20-month moving average that's been rising, right? So I'm not bearish on Robinhood anymore. I was a little bit bearish. I was even bearish on Robinhood because I wasn't sure when this bearish divergence was going to work out. Like price went up and RSI went down, right? I thought that, hey, you know, initially when things were like, not the Fibonacci level, get that out of the way. When things were going from here and going up to here, I thought that, hey, the trend seems to be exhausted here, right? And I was thinking like a retrace for Robinhood maybe down to like 18 or so, right? That's kind of what my thought was. The longer it kind of just like went up, the more I'm like, this thing is crazy. It just wants to correct sideways for time to work out the bearish divergence. But nah, it just ended up like plummeting down, broke through my 18 level on that fateful Monday, got a lot of demand, ended up closing back around 18. And right now it looks like it wants to have like a bullish trend continuation. So yeah. If you would have bought Robinhood, again, like I'm not giving you financial advice, right? Because I'm not a cult leader. You guys shouldn't follow me. I'm just here because I'm passionate about charts. I want to talk about charts on the evenings and weekends. And I think that if you would have bought anything that is right here, like underneath the lower Bollinger Band, kudos to you, Mark. Like, kudos to you. Like, this is awesome. This is absolutely awesome, right? So before I go on, like, please, if I missed your chart request, I'm sorry. Let me know if there's a lot of chats up there, so let me know if I miss anything. But like, I can't be bearish on Robinhood chart anymore. It closed back above the 20 and 20-week moving averages pointing up. On the monthly, it got close to the 20-month, and it just have this big giant dragonfly climb. Like, this dragonfly looks like it wants to fly up a lot higher. I'm gonna keep holding it. I'm happy that I bought my cost average was around like 12. I'm happy to just keep holding it. You know, I don't have anything else to say about it. So, is that it? You guys don't have anything else to request? That makes me kind of sad. What else should I talk about? I have time. Well, if you guys don't want to request anything anymore, I'm going to get offline. I'm going to maybe make a couple of videos of things that I'm interested about. Oh, I knew you were going to say that. Okay. All right. Let's do China. Let's do China. And I'm not going to do that Trump voice because everybody else does it. So China, what's going on with you? First thing first, I think the correction is really done for a lot of the Chinese stocks. I'm going to show you a few Chinese stocks as to why I think that is. Don't tell Jesse that I'm talking about Chinese stocks, please, because don't tell Jesse, okay? But this is the Hang Seng Hang Seng Index. It's been challenging a flattening 20-month moving average, and it's been forming some pretty decent candle formation. Very nice hammer over here, looking pretty decent, actually. It's challenged the 20-month moving average multiple times, once, twice, 3 times. Except that third time, it really looks like it's flattening. So I think we're close. I really think we're close. KWAB looks the same. We can just go jump into BABA. BABA actually looks nice. This is a monthly chart. The month is not yet over. I don't want to, make a conclusion based on a candle on a month that hasn't been over quite just yet. This could still be a wick, right? But nobody's talking about BABA anymore. Jeremy is not talking about BABA anymore. Nobody cares about BABA anymore. Jake is not talking about BABA anymore. What's that guy that texts in all caps? He's not talking about BABA anymore. nobody cares about BABA anymore. And that's exactly the time when the 20-month moving average has turned from negative sloping and served as rejection, 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 and has finally flattened. And does Munger still have a position in BABA? I don't know. I know that Michael Berry still has one, right? But it looks like it's finally peeking its head on a flattening 20-month moving average. This is a pretty significant thing. Now, for people who are skeptical, look at 20-month moving average. You should be skeptical of everything I'm saying because I'm not a cult leader. I do not want to lead a cult, and don't take anything that I say as face value. But for those people who don't believe in the 20-month moving average, all I ask you to do is I'm going to make a video on the Bollinger Band, which includes the 20 period for members only. But go back, get TradingView, look at a bunch of charts, look at 20-month moving average, and look and see whether or not the stock can break out when the 20-month moving average is negative sloping. Is highly unlikely. It has to go sideways, has to wait for it to kind of go sideways and flatten before you have really a chance to kind of break back above. So yeah, I still think that the issue here with BABA for a long time is just needed the technicals to play out. I think it's getting ready. I honestly think that this is a trend change. Nothing's ever 100%, but if you're going to end a BABA, and this is not financial advice, I think we're getting close. That's going to be that for BABA. Going to look at some other indicators here too. Another indicator that's also showing some promises. The Tenkan, the blue line over here, right? Resistance, resistance, resistance turning to support. Could it hold? Nope, not yet, because it's still way outside. This bear trend is still very, very strong because the Kijun is still way above, right? Break back above here, could it serve as support? Nope. But now you're actually getting closer to the Kijun. The Kijun, the red line is getting a little bit closer. Right now, I'm thinking it probably end up getting stuck in a range between like the mid 70s to maybe like the low 90s. Probably gonna get stuck in a range over here for a little bit before having any potential breakout. And if you're gonna do something like this, you have to also think about, okay, so IWM is going like beast mode. Momentum might be elsewhere, and this is a very, very nice potential Adam Eve type pattern over here for BABA. Should you consider entering something like this? Maybe, right? Another thing I also want to caution you too is BABA has done this before. This is the weekly chart for Ichimoku Cloud. Yeah, I talked about the Adam Eve for like a very long time. I just didn't think it was confirmed, but it's been underneath the Ichimoku Cloud. It challenged the cloud many, many times. Like over here, it got a lot of people excited, even myself. I was like, is it going to break out? Nope. You know why that is? You know why that is? Because the 20-month moving average is still very negative sloping. That's why it didn't happen. But it's no longer the case. And if you look at it weekly, you're got rejected from the cloud, you're breaking back inside the cloud, and where are you at right now? Where are you at right now? Where did the week close? It got rejected here at the top of the Ichimoku Cloud, right? So does that mean like lower before higher? I think possibly. Let me check but you also have the Bollinger Band also pointing up, right? So how much lower is it going to get? Like 78, 80, maybe somewhere around there, $78, $80, maybe somewhere around there before going up. Or if it ends up peaking its head above the cloud, I think it could hit the upper Bollinger Band here around maybe like $88 or something like that. But I don't know. I think this daily trend may need to kind of cool down here a little bit. Anyway, just some thoughts on the Chinese market. I think that it's going to do well over the next 12 to 18 months. I don't know what's going to happen longer term. That I really don't know. FUTU. I like this stock because it's got a very nice ascending triangle look to it. It looks like it just wants to keep going higher. Initially, when it broke back above, I thought it might backtest like around 60. It would maybe 61, somewhere around here. I didn't think it was going to go all the way down to like 52, 53. Just like I didn't think Robinhood was going to go down right now to like 14, but it did. Back tested this whole like horizontal line over, not horizontal, this diagonal line over here for this ascending triangle. Right now, if you're like, okay, so it's no longer an ascending triangle, right? It's an ascending wedge. It's kind of nasty looking. It's a bear flag. It's going to go down to like $2, right? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look like a bear flag. The reason why I say it is because like this looks like a lot bigger than a pull. And it's been mostly forming higher highs and higher lows. So I actually think this is like bullish, And also it found support where it needed to find support at some of the volume shelves down here. And it also found support where it needed to find support close to the lower Bollinger Band here on the weekly. And on the monthly, it looks like I'm going to delete the ascending triangle because it's no longer that. Right. But on the monthly, it looks like it's just been riding up on a rising 20-month moving average, backtested once and backtested twice. They have a very beautiful dragonfly bullish candle over here. Where is it going to go? Probably going to go up, Yeah, I still have a hard time justifying buying FUTU. I end up buying like BTBT, and I still end up DCing into Tesla. I still end up DCing into like SoFi and all that. But it's pretty juicy. It's pretty nice. I don't know. Anyway, Brendan wants to ask about. Yeah, no problem. You're nice. You're nice. You're a great cult follower. I'm just kidding. Please, I'm not a cult. This is not a cult. But yeah, if I was gonna have somebody. If I was going to have a number two, and I'm not talking about the sense of like excretion, but if I was going to have a number two by my side in a non-romantic way, it would be you. Anyway. All right, getting to Fetch AI. I know that's a lot of conditional talk here. The other day I was asking Danny like a couple months ago. I was like, "Hey, Danny, you love me?" And he like gave me he said yes, but he gave me a bunch of qualifiers like yes, as a brother, as a friend, blah 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 blah. I'm like, I know. FET, how can you be bearish here? Like I don't. Like, how can you be bearish here? I guess the only reason to be bearish is because if you bought up here, you've been upset because you lost like $60, $70, $80 range down here, somewhere right here. But this is not a bearish chart. It did end up having gone down a lot further from the Tenkan Kijun, but things have also really overextended for a very long time. So I think this correction move was just really, really warranted, if you will. It didn't have to, right? Because with bull market, it can always be very, very irrational and just keep going a little higher. But having a move like this is not unexpected, I guess. Like backtesting some of the stuff down here is not unexpected here on the monthly. Backtesting the 20-month moving average is not unexpected here on the monthly. And backtesting this horizontal breakout from resistance to support is not unexpected, but it's been very brutal. Like you're talking about $3.5 all the way down to like 70 cents. It's been very brutal for holders, and thus is cryptocurrencies. If you're looking at a lower time frame, I cannot be that bearish when you have a candle that engulfs like two bearish candles over here. Like this is not a bearish chart. And if you look at the weekly here, you can see that like very clear. It's just backtesting a previous resistance level here as support, and it bounced, right? If I use Ichimoku Cloud here, again, like these things, you can tell that for some reason these levels work really well, and I did talk about on my Ichimoku Cloud video for members only. That why I thought that was the case, but so far it's getting rejected here at the Tenkan. Like it's just getting rejected over here, but it's closing back above the cloud. It haven't had a week that is closed underneath the weekly cloud yet. So on the Bollinger Band here, didn't really quite touch the lower Bollinger Band. I do think that you're hitting resistance currently at the current price around like 1.28. And I do think that the negative sloping 20 week is going to be, serving as resistance here. So whenever it hits the 20 week, is going to be some issues. So could it end up keep going up higher and just hit like 1.5, which is where the 20 is going to come down and it's going to come back down, back test some things, form a little bit of a higher low here, and maybe around like $1, right? Maybe like around $1 before going up higher. That's entirely possible, but I just have a little bit more of like a cautious tone here because it's underneath resistance in a couple of indicators here, right? With that said, I still think that in the longer time frame, I still think that this thing looks like it wants to go a lot higher because it's just formed a higher low over here compared to over here. So if you ask me for targets, like I don't like to give targets at this point because targets is no problem. Morty, you're here. Yeah, ASTS is fun. I had a couple of you actually ask me ASTS. Right, you have a hammer candle. If you're able to close the month with this hammer candle, I think there's a high likelihood that it's going to have some bullish continuation. If you ask me, like how far things going to go with fetch, I'm going to say this: it got rejected right at the 2.618 level. And I got to say I don't know, but it looks like it wants to go higher. I don't like if I switch this from linear to log, it can give me some higher targets, like $8 possible. I don't think it's going to hit 184. I think that's insane. Don't be $8 is possible. I don't like to use like FIP log FIP that much because it's just sometimes just gives like some really crazy targets. But I think $8 is possible. Just like 60-70 cents is possible. I think $8 is possible. But I'm gonna shut up because it's a bear market, recession's coming, so everything's going to zero. So they also ask about man, I haven't looked at this for a very long time. Let's see, the one that's going to give me the longest chart is this one over here. Wow, consolidation. Man, this thing has done nothing. This thing has done absolutely nothing. And yet is bullish because the 20-month is curling up. It's consolidated for way too long. And yet the Ichimoku cloud is bullish above the Tenkan and Kijun. And yet on the weekly is bullish because it was resistance over here and it flipped into support. And right now it's hitting a very important horizontal zone over here with some price history here and here. And it's hitting resistance. That is all. Could it come back down, back test the cloud, and go out higher after it got rejected over here? Possible. Could it break through resistance? Possible. But it's resistance, so you're supposed to be a little bit more cautious at resistance. Another thing, like why I'm a little bit worried about the current chart, why I think it might go back down a little bit, is because right now the price is just a little bit way outside the weekly upper bowl in Japan. It's not ready yet, but overall, I think in the longer time run, it still looks like a bullish chart, even though it's been doing nothing for like 2 years. So, Morty, I just did a video on Doge. I'm gonna upload it at some point tonight and check back my channel later. I'm gonna talk about Doge, talk about GME, talk about AMC together. But I spent a few minutes talking about Doge. I'm excited when you're bored. I know you're not really bored. I know you're actually pretty excited, but yeah, for some reason when you send me messages. Anyway, I'll leave that alone. I think I've already addressed a lot of your requests. It's been about over an hour. So thank you very much for joining my live stream. And it says that ads will run in another 20 seconds, 15 seconds. So I'm going to let the ads run because I want the revenue. And then I'm going to close the stream. 7 seconds coming up. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a shame. I'm still having an issue with the scam app. So there's your ads right there. Those are your ads right there. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm gonna keep trying. But so far, the scammers really haven't like posted anything. I think they've lost interest. I just can't get rid of that. That stupid app. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep growing my account, and maybe when get big enough, then they can get alerted and close my account. I mean, who knows what X is going to do? But or maybe they'll listen when I have a big enough followers. Who knows? Anyway, you guys take care. Have a good one. Bye.